we were going to start with the women's 5,000. Robert was giving a great spiel. Go ahead. Reintroduce it.
Thank God Weldon was listening, our producer in San Francisco.
Spurs equalized against Brighton, even worse. Oh,
I said that we got to start with the women's 5,000 because this was an all-timer. And sometimes the 5,000, to me, honestly, leaves a little bit to be desired. Like even the first Olympics I ever attended, 1996. Hala Gabrielsi wins the 10. The track was super hard. He didn't bother to come back for the 5,000. Vanessa Niamgaba won it. Everyone assumes, or at least at the time, of course, Holly would have won it. But it's hard for the 10,000 runners to often beat the 1,500-meter guys. And Niamgaba was a 1,500-meter guy, but we didn't get the cream of the cream in the event. Here we had it all. We had Chebet, 10,000-meter world record holder, 5,000-meter world record holder in the 5,000. We had Kipyegon, the 1,500-meter GOAT, former 5,000 champion. Did she have the 5,000 world record at one point?
Yep.
In here, and they're going to clash. They're good friends. They're not afraid to lose. And one had won in 2022, one had won in 2023, one had won in 2024. Who would win the grudge match? And this race went slow. And in the end, coming in, I think we thought that Chebet had the edge. She's been closing these races, John. You've been timing her 200s. Like she ran a 14:27 race earlier this year and closed in about
26.6.
And we were like, can Kipyegon do that? And I'm like, my thought process was, hey, if this is over 14:40-ish, maybe Kipyegon's going to have a chance. And the race was slow. It went out super slow for the start. And the winning time ended up being...
It was like 14:53. It was not quick.
So, we kind of come down to the last mile. Let's try to get that last 1,600.
14:54, sorry. Yeah.
So with 4 laps to go, I'm like, okay, this is turning into, or actually 1,500 meters. I think I turned to you and said, this is turning into a 1,500. Don't we know who the best 1,500-meter runner is? Well, we do if they start at the starting line. But even a slow pace, does that take something out of Kipyegon? Anyways, at the end, after Shelby Houlihan led this thing bravely for 4,200 meters, Beatrice had the lead before the bell, and then surprisingly, it was Kipyegon that took the lead on the backstretch. Chebet followed her around and just blasted her in the last. I wouldn't say blasted her, but pulled away in the last 150 meters, gets the win. Kipyegon second, Beatrice third, and I was incredibly inspired by Shelby Houlihan in fourth. Look, there's no way. Like, if you think she cheated intentionally, you might want to turn off the screen now. That's fine. Because, drug cheats have ruined a generation, 2 generations of the sport. But if you think that there's a possibility, she definitely violated the rules she had in her system, but she did it innocently. And it's sort of, then it's really sad that she missed not 1, but 2 Olympics because of a mistake. And she's back on the world stage for the outdoor stage for the first time in 6 years, since 2019. She has no big shoe sponsor. She's got an apparel brand I've never heard of.
Probably, Easy Day, I believe it was called.
Give a shout out to them. But she's not part of the Bowerman Track Club. She's being coached by her sister and her boyfriend, I think. And she just equals her best performance ever at Worlds. She outkicks Gudolf's the guy, ran hard through the line, gets 4th. Josette Anders gets 6th. And
best finish ever by an American in the women's 5,000 at Worlds or the Olympics. Both of them, actually. The previous best was 6th by Molly Huddle in 2013. And Houlihan was 4th, Josette Andrews 6th. So really good showing by the Americans. I think let's get to the Shelby Houlihan discussion in a minute, Robert. I do want to talk about Chebet and Kipyegon and how they played this, because we had a lot of talk in the build-up of the strategy they would take and that sort of thing. And I think my takeaway from this is Faith Kipyegon doesn't really have any weaknesses as a 1,500-meter runner, but Beatrice Chebet has a better kick than her. I just think it's that simple. Like, Faith is a really good kicker. This isn't to say, like, an insult to her at all, but Beatrice Chebet has an all-time kick. And you saw it again tonight. The last lap was 57.60 for Chebet, 27.86 for her last 200. Faith was 58.47 and 28.67 for her last 400 and 200. And you saw what Chebet did. Chebet just stalked Faith. She just said, I'm going to mark her. I'm going to follow her every move the last lap and then move by with 50 to go. That's the approach that we thought Faith should employ on Chebet, because last year in the Olympic final, Faith took it with maybe 600 to go or so and ended up getting run out of it in the end. And I asked her tonight, she took it with about 275 to go in this race. And I said, why'd you do that? And she said, well, there was still a bunch of us. This is the quote. I saw we were still many, and and it's good to have position before the bell. So there was still a bunch of women in the race at that point. She was in good position, and she wanted to make the most of it. She said, I have to push and go home with my medal. I was happy to have a silver medal. So she thought she still ran well. She did. I mean, she was beaten by one of the greatest runners the world has ever seen in the women's distances. But I said, do you regret going as early as you did? And she said, no, I knew we were all strong. It's a championship. It's anyone's race. I would amend it to say they were really, it was one of two women's race. Beatrice ran really well for third, actually. So maybe give her a little respect. But yeah, if I was Faith, I would have just said, hey, Chebet, you make the move. I'm just going to sit on you, and then I'm going to try to go by you. I'm not sure that would have worked because, again, Chebet's last lap was almost a full second faster than Faith's, and her last 200 was almost a full second faster. So she might have had that top gear, but if I was Faith, I would have that's probably the strategy I would have employed, but you may have gotten the same result because Chebet's just that good.
Correct. The post-race comments were kind of weird to me. Like, no, it's not everyone's race. Let's be honest. This is like a two-person's race. I guess there's some scenario you see about Beatrice winning it. But if I'm coaching her, I'm like, you're the 1,500-meter runner. I'm sitting on Chebet until 1 meter to go and just trying to outkick her at the very last moment. But Chebet, yes, her last 200 is insane. I think we have the answer now. I mean, to me, there was some doubt because, yes, Chebet was better last year, but it was a little bit faster of a race. It was, I think, a 14:28 race, if I'm not mistaken. And, yes, Chebet's been wrecking world records, but Faith's also been breaking world records. So, they're both in their best form. Who's improved the most? And Faith had run that 8:07, 3,000. Now, Chebet had run like 8:11 when she wasn't even going for it. So you think, because generally the 5,000 would kind of turn into who's the best 3,000 runner. But when it went so slow for the first 3,400, I guess they kind of got going, though. I posted on the forum, and maybe I can pull them up. Shelby, like the first K was so slow, but then around 2K, she started throwing the laps down faster and faster. And, I've got a 13-minute interview up with her. So she was getting faster. So it wasn't like it was just, and then the last 1,600 was extremely fast. 4:24 for Kipyegon, for Chebet. Like I think it was like 4:27 for Shelby. But yeah, Chebet is right now, it's seemingly unbeatable at anything higher than 1,500 meters.
No, this version of Chebet, you could make the case is the greatest female distance runner we've ever seen. I think you've got maybe 2021 Sifan Hassan with her Olympic double gold in the 5K and 10, and then her medal in the 1,500 as well. She's going to be in that conversation. Maybe peak Dafar or Dababa, but how fast she's run, she's got the world records in the 5 and the 10, and now how fast she closes races, I just don't know what the recipe is for beating her. She's incredible, and she's essentially done everything you can in the sport at this point. She's won the 5K and the 10K at the Worlds. She's won the 5K and the 10K at the Olympics. She has the world record in both. She's won the last 2 world cross countries. At this point, she's proven everything she needs to prove. Now it's like, how many of these can I win to sort of make the case as the GOAT women's distance runner? So she's still only 25 years old. So she should be dominating for the next few. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to see anyone surpassing her the level she's at right now. And, props to Beatrice, who bounced back. I mean, 2nd championships in a row that she's finished top 4 in both the 5 and the 10. She gets 2 medals this time. She got 1 last time. And to be anywhere close to Chebet and Kipyegon, 2 all-time legends by the finish, it's pretty impressive. Like Chebet 14:54.36, Kipyegon 14:55.07, Beatrice 14:55.42. Like, to even be in the picture with those 2 women at the end, you have to be at a super, super high level. So she had a tremendous championships, did Beatrice. What are you looking for, Robert?
I'm just trying to figure out the last 3K. 2K was 6:20. So I found all my posts here. So, I mean, the first 1,000 was extremely slow if you weren't up early watching, 3:17. And then, 5:07 for the first 1,600. Then Shelby started running 73, 72. By 3K, it was down to 68. So she's kind of doing a long squeeze. Then slowed down a little bit, 71, then 70, 3 laps to go. Again, 4K, they're at 70, and it was 12:50 with 2 laps to go. And then, they end up running 14:54. So the last 800 for Chebet was probably like 2:02, 2:03. And I wrote at the time, I said, Chebet for the win. If she cannot kick Faith in a race that slow, she's unbeatable. Shelby ran a great run. And then let's talk about the ironic thing here. I mean, I don't know if irony is the right word, John. You're the English guy. You're the literary expert. But I first of all, we said it before. Like, Shelby can never win over him. But I just started a thread. Did she silence some of the haters? Because if you think that, what else could prove to you maybe that that she was clean and she was caught up in an innocent mistake? Like, she serves a 4-year ban. She comes back in her early 30s, and she's just as good on the global stage as she's ever been. And she led this whole race. And I thought she was extremely brave. She's like, I haven't led anything all year. I didn't really want to lead, but there I was, and she did it. Now, I guess the only argument would be, there's only really 2 arguments. One, you could say, well, she doped then, and she's still doping now and getting away with it now. Or you could say, well, there's residual gains from doping, even though it's been like 5 years.
Residual was that word there.
Yeah. So, but I think if you're open and you're sort of torn on the label, to me, I always think, well, if they come back clean and are equal in their performance and are being tested all the time, it's better. It's like, if you're skeptical of Kenyan distance runners right now, as many of you should be, Sebastian Salway is going to run the Berlin Marathon tomorrow. Well, he's offered to be drug tested 25 times. If he continues to run well when he's being drug tested 25 times, that to me is a sign that, hey, he's probably clean. And the same thing is true with the opposite is true of Fred Curley. I actually think this is very interesting. In case you don't know, Fred Curley, the U.S. 100-meter runner, he's been suspended from the sport for missing 3 drug tests. Well, he's just signed up to go on to the enhanced games, which is where you're allowed to drug and dope yourself. So he's going to be running hundreds next year, probably on steroids. And to me, if he doesn't run significantly faster than he did this year, that means he most likely was doping this year. So that's going to be a litmus test. Like let's think about this logically. But anyways, I did extremely long interview with her, 13 minutes. One other journalist was kind of joking. He's like, I've never seen anyone do a film and a thing. But I really wanted to ask all the questions. And Jonathan's gotten some flack for saying he believes in Shelby. And she innocently made this mistake and wasn't intentional. I'm open to both possibilities. But after this, I'm much more likely to think, man, this girl, I was super impressed. I actually, when I turned off the camera, I said that was impressive as hell. And congratulations. You should be extremely proud of that. And I was, but I tried to ask the questions that some of you who don't believe in her would ask. And one of the things that I thought was very ironic was there's message board haters about Beatrice. Her father, what are the odds? The woman that kept Shelby Houlihan off the medal stand tonight, her father was a very good Italian runner, and he tested positive for nandrolone back in the day. That's the very same drug that got Shelby Houlihan busted. So now, I don't read Italian. I believe that he got off eventually from the charge, but people are assuming, Beatrice doped because her dad doped. Well, the dad may have been let off. I'm not sure. We really need to have set up an interview or get a translator or see if she speaks English with Beatrice. I don't think we can really talk to her.
She speaks English.
Okay. Ask her about that, and she's never heard of Shelby and stuff like that. Because Shelby didn't know the story, but she's like, well, whatever. It's just, she's like, I think differently about the whole anti-doping situation than I did before. But check out the interview on YouTube, 13 minutes. Love her or hate her, incredible run. She and Andrews ran great. They ran great.
Yeah, and I think, if you're someone who believes Shelby doped intentionally, then, I mean, maybe this says to you, hey, she kept going for 4 years and she came back and she's still performing at a similar level to when she left. She said she thought she's in American record shape for the 5K right now. She doesn't have the 1,500 wheels that she did, but she's also 32. And for her to get fourth first time bout, maybe you say, oh, okay, like she really stuck with it. She's still here. But then, of course, Justin Gatlin heard this. When he came back, he started running faster than ever. And people said, look, okay, he's running these crazy times, but he's running times in his mid-30s as a sprinter that we haven't really seen before. He must have gotten residual gains, or he must still be doping.
And I'll agree.
People will make the same argument about Shelby, with this performance. So I don't think there's really going to be anything she can do to convince everyone. But she, again, vehemently denies ever doping. She said that in the mixed zone. I think she was quite proud of her performance. And it is, this year went a lot better for her than I thought it would. She comes back. She gets second at USA Indoors in the 15, medals at World Indoors in the 3K. She was second in the 3K Indoors. Medals at the 3K at the World Indoors, beating Jessica Hull in the process. Then comes to USA's Outdoors, wins USA's, and finishes fourth of the World Championships, which ties her best finish ever. She was fourth in the 15 in 2019. Now she's fourth again in 2025 after her ban. She's doing it all at 32. So if you think, hey, she's innocent, she got screwed, this is an all-time redemption story. If you think she was a doper and she's always been a doper, then you're probably not very impressed by it.
Yeah. But if she's a doper, she's an all-time psycho, because she was so proud. She was full of smiles the whole 13 minutes. And she's actually contrasted. She said in 2019, I was devastated. I was in tears. I was crying when I got fourth. And tonight she was very proud of it. And she actually said, when I'm out there alone, I wasn't planning on leading, but she just ran bravely. And she said that, but I did think to myself, well, for the last 4 years, I've been working out alone by myself, leading these reps. So, considering she wanted to break 30 minutes in practice, I told her, why don't you move up to the 5 and the 10? Because she was talking about running, she thought about running the 1500 this year, but she couldn't get the wheels. We threw out World Cross. Anyways, check out the interview.
And props to Josette Andrews as well. 29 years old. She had been Mrs. Neely or Mrs. Something Goes Wrong at USA's. And there have been times where she was favored to make it and she didn't do it. And this year she makes the team. It was close. She had to battle for her spot at USA's. It wasn't entirely convincing, but she did finish third and get that third spot. And then she goes to the Diamond League final and gets second in the Diamond League final. And now she's sixth in the World Championships. If it wasn't for Shelby, that would tie the highest finish ever by an American in the women's 5,000 at a global championship. So really great season for her. And Robert, in the mixed zone, she was saying how proud she was of the OAC performance at this meet. She said, everyone we sent to this meet got into the final. We got a win from Jordy Beamish. She was sixth tonight. They've got Kai Robinson going in the men's 5K. Falcon was sixth in the 1500. She just said, I really think our team spirit's been really good. And obviously there are some high-profile athletes who didn't make it to the World Championships, but the ones who are here for OAC are performing. And in terms of why she did so well this meet, I think she just said, every year there's been some sort of hiccup and something had gone wrong or an injury. It was bad timing a lot of times going into USA's. This year, no setbacks or anything, and that's why she thinks she had her best season ever. But the OAC, you had a point there, Robert?
Well, no. It's tough being a coach, because when people judge you on whether you're meddling or not, it's just there's only 3 people in the world in each event that can medal. I've always thought there's a lot of good coaches, and we've seen that with, some of these people coaching one-off people, like high school coaches. Grant Fisher's coaching is the best. But a month ago, before this Worlds, it was this is a terrible year for the OAC. They're having a disastrous year. No year at Naguse. No Ollie Hoare. The Harvard woman's not here. There were so many people, but it's a large team. So what I always say, the law of averages. Some people are going to have bad years. Some people are good years. And I think that, it's even people are well, Jordy Beamish should have won Olympic gold if Rich could keep him healthy. Some people are injury-prone people. So Rich, on his best day, is not as good as people are making him out to be today, saying he's amazing. On his worst day, he's not as bad as people make it out to be. There's a lot of good coaches out there. But, yes, they should be proud. And, I was reading this stuff a month ago. I'm like, wow, I wonder if Rich is going to lose his job. And now I'm like, oh, my God, Rich is the man. So it's just it's wild. All right. But again, Chebet, you're insane. You're insane. I didn't love Kipyegon's tactics. She was running a lot wide with 600 to go in the middle of lane 2. I would just sit, but be a little bit more confident, try to blow out Chebet. But John, do they work out together?
Kipyegon and Chebet?
Yeah.
No, they're in different training groups, but they're really close friends. They're obviously on a bunch of teams.
I mean, I'm
together.
wondering if they ever do anything together in Kenya. Like
I think they just do a lot of appearances. They're faded for that.
It is true. It'd be interesting. Like, does she have the best kick in the last 200 of the world? Is it Chebet? But when Chebet ran the 1500 a few weeks ago, it wasn't super impressive. So Segay beat her. And then, Segay was right there and then faded to 5th. So that's the women's 5,000. Let's go.